My girlfriend tried to blackmail me into buying her a $5,000 designer bag. I called her bluff and ended things. I'm 28, male, and I've always been the type of person who believes in fairness and mutual respect in relationships. I work hard as a software engineer, and while I make a decent living, I'm far from extravagant. My girlfriend at the time, who I'll call G, knew this about me from the beginning. She seemed down-to-earth and sweet when we first started dating, but over time, her true colors began to show. G had expensive tastes. She loved high-end brands, luxury outings, and keeping up appearances on social media. At first, I didn't mind treating her to nice things within reason. But as our relationship progressed, her requests became more frequent and more expensive. I started noticing a pattern. The more I gave, the more she expected. It wasn't love, it was entitlement disguised as affection. The breaking point came last month when she tried to blackmail me into buying her a $5,000 designer bag. It started with a casual conversation over dinner. G was scrolling through her phone, showing me pictures of handbags. "Isn't this gorgeous?" she asked, holding up her phone. I glanced at it and nodded. "Yeah, it's nice." "It's not just nice," she said, her tone becoming more insistent. "It's iconic. Every woman dreams of having one of these." I could feel where this was headed. "It's a little out of my price range," I said, trying to keep things light. G frowned. "Oh, come on. You're not broke. You can afford it if you really wanted to." "It's not about affording it," I replied. "Spending $5,000 on a bag just doesn't make sense to me. That's money that could go towards something more practical, like savings or investments." She rolled her eyes. "You're so boring sometimes. It's not about practicality. It's about making me happy." The conversation ended there, but I could tell she wasn't letting it go. A week later, G brought it up again, this time with a different approach. We were sitting in my living room when she dropped a bombshell. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice unusually serious. I put down my coffee. "What's up?" "I know something about you that could ruin your reputation," she said, avoiding my gaze. I raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" "I don't want to get into details," she said quickly. "But let's just say, I could share some things that might make your friends, or even your boss, see you differently." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Was she seriously threatening me? "What are you trying to say, G?" I asked, my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. She hesitated for a moment before leaning in. "If you buy me the bag, I'll forget all about it. Consider it a way to keep everything between us." I stared at G, trying to process what she had just said. Was she really attempting to blackmail me? Over a designer bag? My initial shock quickly turned to anger. "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You're threatening me, your boyfriend, with some vague claim to get me to buy you a $5,000 bag?" "It's not a threat," she said defensively, though her tone betrayed her guilt. "I'm just saying, I could share certain things that might make your life complicated. But I don't want to do that. I just think it's fair for you to show me you care." "Fair?" I repeated, my anger bubbling to the surface. "You think it's fair to manipulate me into spending thousands of dollars on something completely unnecessary? That's not love, G. That's greed." She rolled her eyes, clearly frustrated that I wasn't caving. "You're being so dramatic. It's just a bag. Why are you making this such a big deal?" "Because it's not just about the bag," I snapped. "It's about you trying to control me, to extort me into giving you what you want. Do you even hear yourself?" For a moment, she looked stunned. But then she doubled down. "You're overreacting. If you really cared about me, you wouldn't be making this such a big deal. And honestly, maybe I do deserve someone who's willing to spoil me." "Maybe you do," I said, standing up. "Because it's not going to be me." That's when the mask came off. G's face twisted in anger. "You're seriously ending things over this? Wow, I knew you were cheap, but I didn't realize you were this selfish." "Selfish?" I said, letting out a bitter laugh. "You're the one who's trying to blackmail me for a designer bag, and I'm the selfish one? Get real, G." She stood up, crossing her arms. "Fine. If you want to throw away everything we've built over a stupid fight, that's on you. But don't come crawling back to me when you realize how good you had it." I shook my head, grabbing my keys. "I don't think I'll need to. We're done, G. You can find someone else to fund your lifestyle." I left her apartment that night, feeling a strange mix of anger and relief. Part of me couldn't believe I had let things get this far. The signs had been there from the beginning, the subtle manipulation, the constant demands. But I had ignored them, thinking they were just quirks of her personality. Now it was all too clear. G didn't love me. She loved what I could give her. Over the next few days, G bombarded me with texts and calls. At first, she tried to act as though nothing had happened. "Hey, I miss you. Can we talk?" she wrote. When I didn't respond, her messages became more desperate. "I made a mistake. Please let me explain." I ignored her. But then she tried a new tactic, turning the tables. "You're such a coward," one text read. "You can't even face me after throwing our relationship away. I deserve an apology." An apology? For ending a relationship she had tried to blackmail me into staying in? The audacity was almost... Ignoring G's texts only seemed to fuel her determination. A few days later, I started hearing from mutual friends. Apparently, G was telling people that I'd overreacted to a harmless joke and that I'd left her without giving her a chance to explain. She painted herself as the victim, claiming I'd been controlling and unwilling to compromise. One friend called me directly. "Hey, I heard about what happened. G's been saying some pretty wild stuff. What's going on?" I explained everything, the blackmail, the $5,000 bag, and the way she'd tried to manipulate me into buying it. The friend was silent for a moment before saying, "Wow, that's not the version she's been telling people. You might want to clear the air." At first, I wasn't sure if it was worth the effort. But then I realized, G wasn't just trying to reconcile. She was trying to rewrite the narrative to make herself look good, and me look like the bad guy. I wasn't about to let her get away with that. I started by reaching out to a few close friends who had heard her side of the story. I calmly laid out the facts, even showing them screenshots of her texts where she had implied she'd share things about me if I didn't buy her the bag. Most of them were shocked. "She really tried to blackmail you?" one friend said, shaking their head. "That's insane." "It is," I agreed. "And the worst part is, she thinks she can spin this into something it's not. I'm done letting her manipulate me, or anyone else." Meanwhile, G wasn't done trying to get back into my life. One evening, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there, holding a box of my things and wearing what I assumed she thought was a remorseful expression. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice soft. I crossed my arms. "There's nothing to talk about, G." She sighed, stepping closer. "Look, I know I messed up. I was stressed and I said things I didn't mean. But you didn't even give me a chance to explain." I shook my head. "You don't need to explain. You tried to blackmail me, G. That's not something you can just apologize for and move on." "It wasn't blackmail," she said quickly. "I was just frustrated. I didn't know how else to get through to you." "Get through to me?" I repeated, my tone incredulous. "You mean manipulate me? That's what this has always been about. You don't care about me. You care about what I can give you." Her face hardened. "That's not true. I love you." "No, G," I said firmly. "You love the idea of someone who'll bend over backward to make you happy, no matter how unreasonable your demands are. I'm not that person, and I never will be." The conversation ended with her storming off, muttering something about how I'd regret this. I didn't. If anything, I felt lighter, like I'd finally taken back control of my life. In the weeks following our final conversation, G's desperation became more apparent. She tried everything to claw her way back into my life, sending long, emotional emails, leaving voicemails that swung between apologetic and angry, and even recruiting mutual friends to plead her case. But I stood my ground. One day, I received a message from one of her close friends. "Hey, just a heads up," it read. "G's been telling people she only wanted the bag because you made her feel insecure about her appearance. Thought you should know." That was the last straw. I wasn't just dealing with someone who was manipulative. I was dealing with someone who was willing to twist the truth to paint herself as the victim. It was time to take action. I reached out to every mutual friend I cared about and told them the full story. I showed them the screenshots of G's texts, including the thinly veiled threats about ruining my reputation. I explained how she had tried to turn a materialistic demand into a guilt trip, and how she was now spreading lies to cover her tracks. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. "I can't believe she's been saying this stuff," one friend said. "It's so obvious now that she was trying to manipulate you." Word quickly spread, and G's attempts to control the narrative fell apart. People started distancing themselves from her, realizing she wasn't the victim she claimed to be. The most satisfying moment came when one of her old friends reached out to me. "I'm sorry for believing her at first," they said. "She's been doing this kind of thing for years, playing the victim when things don't go her way. I'm glad you stood up to her." It felt like justice, knowing that people were finally seeing her for who she really was. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding my life, free from her toxic influence. I poured my energy into work, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during the relationship, and even treated myself to a much-needed vacation. Months later, G tried one last time to reach out. She sent a long message apologizing for everything and claiming she had changed. But I didn't respond. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding, and I was done giving her chances she didn't deserve. Looking back, I'm grateful for the experience, not because it was easy, but because it taught me the importance of standing up for myself. G tried to turn love into a transaction, but love isn't about manipulation or materialism. It's about respect, trust, and valuing each other for who you are, not what you can provide. So, if you've ever dealt with someone entitled or manipulative, let this be your reminder. You deserve better. Stand your ground, set your boundaries, and don't let anyone guilt you into compromising your self-worth. And if you enjoyed this story of dodging a $5,000 bullet, hit that subscribe button. There's plenty more drama and a little karma where this came from. Stay